you have to be careful in these times, because in these times, folks, if you start ruffling the wrong feathers, or you happen to stumble upon something that might be not of this life that we're used to, like say you stumble across a human trafficking ring accidentally upon being transferred in your job to out of state to another state, and all of a sudden you're getting threatened. All of a sudden death threats are coming. People are calling your house, telling you they know where you are, they have access to your home. You better watch what you say and where you go and who you talk to. This is happening in America, folks, where people are getting shot in their own home to silence them or to remove them from somewhere that someone very, very important must be tied to in one way or another. This is happening in our country, folks. People's Fourth Amendment rights are being trampled in the name of, in the name of human trafficking, possibly, of some sort. Tonight, my guest, Buddy Wayne Webb, is living this tale right now. This is happening to him as we speak. He's going through this. People living in his attic. He knows it. Coming home from work and seeing his television on. I didn't leave that TV on. How'd that TV get on? Noticing around the house that people are in the house when he's not home. You know what, man? We're going to get the whole story right here on Patriot Nation Radio Live on the World Integrity News Network. Right now, I'm going to bring in our guest and let him tell you exactly what's going down at his home there in the town of Midland, Texas. Buddy, what's happening? Welcome to the show, man. I'm your host, Mark Hoffman. This is Patriot Nation Radio Live on the World Integrity News Network. Good evening, sir. Thanks for your time.
Hi, Mark. I appreciate you having me on tonight, and hopefully I can tell this story and do it justice. It's a long story. There's been a lot of crimes over a long period of time. It's an incredible story, but as with anything that's any story that's this incredible, it requires incredible proof, and I have that proof. And otherwise, then it would just be just a crazy story. I as you know, that you've probably seen me on my Facebook, and then I also have some videos out on YouTube under my channels, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas, Tunnels and Crime. I have 5 videos there, and I've had almost 20,000 views in just a couple months. And then, of course, my Facebook at buddy.webb.353. And this is where I'll have show the evidence of the story I'm fixing to talk about, that has the police report, security camera pictures, has medical records, has pictures of x-rays, and other evidence, and lots of stories. For me...
All right. Real fast, buddy. So that people can get an idea how long you've been going through this. Start like from when you first get transferred, and now you're moving to Midland, Texas, and you're going to buy this house. What happened?
Right.
You know, and what happened to what you suspect happened to the first homeowner? Kind of get back to the beginning when it first all started kicking off.
Exactly. We're sitting there in 2008, and I'm a 25-year company employee with a major gas company, and I get a call one day to, there's a position over here in Midland, Texas, home of George and Laura Bush, if you, come over here and look at this job. And so I did, and then made this big major decision to go ahead and move, take the transfer package. I originally found a house. I had a deal on another home that was a handshake deal, and so I was getting ready to move, and then about a couple of weeks before I actually physically moved, this homeowner I had to deal with sells the home to somebody else out from under me, which left me homeless. The reason that I bring this up, which I think is interesting, is 4 years down the line later after I'm shot and all the other crimes, I drive by that house, and I see a car out there at that house that I'd seen in the cul-de-sac from this house during the time the crimes were committed. So I think that something was happening with the first house, and that was basically sold out from under me. Okay? So then that forced me to get a realtor and go around town and look at homes. And so we did, and I picked a realtor and looked 5, 6 homes, and I looked at this one, which was the better one out of all of them, but the home wasn't for sale yet. And my realtor tells me at that time that this couple that owned it, that the husband was they were going through a divorce, and he was incarcerated on a drug charge. I had no reason to question that at the time, and so I almost made a deal on the house. And then, but I was frustrated because of the other home being sold out from under me, and everything's going on. We couldn't make it, I just couldn't get the money right, and so I backed out on the deal. A couple weeks later, and this is in October 2008, I get a call back from my realtor that tells me that the previous homeowner that died of an accidental overdose. And because of the earlier story, I didn't doubt that at the time. And then the widow wanted a quick sale and dropped the price $35,000, which in retrospect it seems like a lot, especially on a $130,000 home. But at the time, I just thought it was my good fortune, and I had no reason to suspect anything else. What since is happening, and we haven't got into the crimes that happened here as far as underground access, Tony being shot here, the repeated burglary to break into this home, and everything that's gone on the last 4 years. Then I start thinking back to the previous homeowner that died a couple of weeks before I closed on the home. I went back to my to the first day I looked at the house. I took pictures, and so I had pictures of this home when I went with the realtor walking through, and it shows a picture of the back door. And then when 28 days later, when I had the home inspector here and I was buying the home, we found the back door, the doorknob was kicked out. There was a brute force entry onto this home in that 28 days in October. Somebody kicked that door in to get in this house. And I have documents to prove that. Well, during this time, on the 12th, is when the previous homeowner died, okay? Which is, especially after what's happened to me, raised up red flags. And then one other event there is that the 2008 oil show started the week after he died, which is kind of convenient, and possibly this oil show is internationally infamous for sex trafficking, and it possibly could be tied in to some of the crimes that are going on here. Maybe,
right.
Maybe not.
Now, I saw, I was cruising around and looking at your stuff, and I saw that some police officers were busted in some prostitution situation. Is that near you? Could those guys be maybe somehow tied to what's happening in your area there?
Okay. Right, and I think you're talking about the pictures of the police inside my home. And,
yeah. Well, I saw today that there was with the previous homeowner, before I close that out, is I also found 2 death notices for him. And this is posted on my Facebook. One says he died here in Midland, and one said he died in Fort Worth. So he died in 2 different places, plus I proved the back doors busted in. Plus, I feel real sure that this house already had underground access to it, or hidden access to it, before I moved here. So the pictures, okay? Yeah.
What was going on, this is when I moved in 2008. In 2010, okay, is when I very first figured out that somebody had been coming into my home. And that's when I called the police for the first time, okay? And basically what I did, I'm a real tidy type person, and I live by myself, and everything has a place, and I work a lot, and one day I get the feeling somebody been in my house. And so what I did was I straightened the rug up, squared the rug by the back door on the ceramic tiles, And before I left one night, on purpose, knowing if you stepped on it, that rug would slide off and not be straight anymore. And I don't like crooked rugs, okay? And so I left. I come home about an hour later, looked down, and I was positive somebody had been in my house. That was day one. Cops were called on this first day, and there's a record of it. We found a door open, a sliding glass door, where the burglars had made a quick exit. I think we almost caught them on that first night, okay? And this is November 2010, a couple of years. From that point on is when I changed all the locks out on the home, and I screwed my windows together. And I was setting up more traps to verify if somebody had been in my home while I was gone. And you can do that several different ways, like putting a little rock on the doorknob or whatever. And when you get home, if that rock ain't there, you know it's going to be open the door. And that's one example of, in my videos, I talked about, I'll go over that. But anyway, they kept getting in my house, and I couldn't stop them, no matter what I did. And this through the 14 months, there was more calls to the police, okay? Called the Texas Rangers, called the FBI. I got married for a short period of time, for a 3-month marriage, and in which I'd actually offered divorce the week before I shot. But during this marriage, it was that person that told me or suggested that said, "Do you think they're coming from the ground?" I've been locking up and putting security cameras and screwing windows together and changing locks out for 14 months, but I never even considered them coming from the ground, as in somebody had pre-installed underground access or tunnel into this home. And the more I thought about it, the more that made sense. And that is what was going on. I'm positive of it now. And behind my home is the back of a Home Depot store, where there's a trucking lane back there. Okay, and it's real private. You can't see back there from the street. And it's a rock's throw from my house. It's very, very secluded. And I've since noticed these 18-wheelers showing up 24/7, even when the store wasn't open. Pull up, stay for a little bit, sometimes honk their horns, and then drive off and leave. And one day I see a little girl at the sleeper cab of one of these 18-wheelers. I have 2 people that told me about prostitution going on behind that store, which is directly behind my home. So then I was putting that together, of course, on the human trafficking side, that the repeated burglaries and break-ins to my house were connected to, and this tunnel connected to these truckers coming 24/7. At around the same time, I also noticing that they're getting in my attic. And I remember this one neighbor here, I told him, I said, "They're getting up there in my attic." And he said, "That's what professional burglars do." And professional burglars. And
did you toss something up there to gas them out one day? You heard them up there coughing or something?
And yes, actually, more than one time did I set off what's called clear out. They're tear gas canisters that are designed for that, so they don't blow your house up or nothing. And I'm really not trying. I know they're dangerous. Absolutely, they shot me, and they are stealing from me. Yeah, and they're here breaking into my home, but I still don't want to kill anybody. And so I did actually tear gas them, and that's a story in itself. And come home from work the next day and heard them coughing. Even the night that I tear gassed them, it wasn't no little sneaking around, little bump. Oh yeah, that must have been a little bump. You thought it must have been a mouse. No. I mean, there was panic situation. There's literally people that are in my attic. Whether they're homeless, illegals, human trafficking victims, whatever. This home was rigged for that. Okay, and I'm going up there finding my ductwork on my heating and cooling system busted apart, so they can cool it up there, And I can hear them moving around. I've heard them cough. I've heard them fart. I've heard them giggle. Okay, and not snore. I've heard them snore. Okay, more times than I count. I know one day I used to come home every day, and when I was working, of course I haven't worked since I was shot, but I'd come home every day and I had a gun, and the first thing I'd do is get my gun, and I'd go through the whole house, look under the beds, look in the closets, and secure my perimeter, before I could relax, okay? And I could hear them, okay? And this was before I had any ideas of tunnels or in the attic or anything, I just thought they were breaking in the normal way. And so I can hear them, and I'm there in the living room, and I say out loud, "You guys would kick my butt in the game of hide and go seek," and I hear them giggling.
Right.
I mean, this is literally, I heard them fall down, not a little bump. I'm talking about fall down, I'm waiting for one to fall through the ceiling,
Right.
And, which is a whole other story, because I told my attorney, I said, "What do I do if I caught one of these burglars?" And I said, "Do I call the same police that were caught covering up the murder? Depends on my life." And she don't have an answer for that. Anyways, what I wanted to, I kind of got sidetracked, but basically what happened here, I called the DEA because there was a suggestion of a tunnel. And this could also be drug smuggling or weapons or money or illegals or, a whole bunch of other things with these truckers, okay? And having this hidden access. And so I called the El Paso DEA one day on my company's cell phone, and I explained to them everything I told, I've been telling you, and what's been going on, that I called the Rangers, I called the FBI, I called the police multiple times. I have all this evidence. They're breaking my home, but they're not stealing anything obvious, but they're taking, services or heating and cooling, and when it rains, they don't get wet, And, anyways, they tell me there's a Midland DA office. So I called the Midland DA office, and I talked to a person, and I give them my name and my number and my address, and, and I'm seriously concerned, because I got people committing felonies against me. And so, and I can prove this call. The DA never showed up, okay? I want to talk about December 20th, 2011, okay? This night, the police are called. One of the many times the police have been called here for these burglars, okay? And this policeman inside the living room of my home handcuffs me and takes me down the street in the dark and puts me in the back of his police car, okay? And when I go to sit in the back of that car, there's a bag of marijuana or pot laying in the seat. And I see it, and I know it's there. And it's real obvious where this is going, right? I'm a person to be framed or threatened. And so they finally, explained to us what's going on. I could tell them, same thing I told you. And I tell them, I've got evidence, I've got proof, come look at the proof. And and they tell me that night that we better not be called over here for this again. And basically what that was is for burglaries or for suspected prostitution or sex trafficking or child sex trafficking. And so I got the point, right, because they threatened me, right? And so anyway, I come back in the house, and the person that was in my house here tells me, "We're creating a document trail on you." A document trail. Yeah. And that's when I get to thinking about the previous homeowner. Did they create a document trail on him? Was he also framed for drugs and then a few weeks later murdered? I'm just asking these questions. I think they're good questions, fair questions based on what happened to me. Anyway, about that was December 20th, 2011, January 28th. Okay, I was already separated at this time, filed for divorce the week before. January 28th, 2012, I had burglar alarms going off in my attic, okay? I have on Facebook a photo album called Burglar Alarms, and it shows pages and pages of real burglar alarms for burglar alarm systems in my attic. I even have a Vivid alarm system, paid-for system, in my attic that has dispatched the police to my attic before, which they refused to look. Okay, to prove to everybody what I'm saying, because I know it sounds crazy, but it's happening, and I needed the proof, and that's how I was proving it. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah,
I had burglar alarms going off, and which
now,
you know,
you had cameras in the house, right? And the pictures of the people rifling through your house, was that after they shot you in the foot, or was that before they shot you?
Right, it was after. What happened here is the burglar alarms are going off about 11 o'clock on Saturday night, 10:28 or 1:28:12.
Right.
I'm going towards my back door. I'm fixing to open my back door. Boom! I fall to the ground. I didn't know what happened. Okay, I was shot in the ankle. Okay. It's actually when, as soon as I fell, I jumped right back up and I fell right back down, and my foot was just dangling on my leg at the time. Okay. I literally didn't know what happened. I was ambushed. I was shot with no warning other than them burglar alarms going off in the attic. And then I tried my phone and found my phone was dead. And I believe they disconnected my phone. I believe they tried to kill me and make it look like an accident. That's what I believe happened. And I believe the evidence shows that. Anyways, then I screamed for help, nothing, okay? And remember, I had reported suspected tunnels just 2 weeks earlier to the DEA. They never looked, okay? And then I'm shot from somebody in a tunnel, okay? I crawl out on my hands and knees, and my security camera that I have out front takes a picture of me. This picture is on Facebook, and it's time-stamped on me on my hands and knees crawling to save my life, literally. I didn't know if I was going to live or die at that time. And then I drive up to the 7-Eleven and with one foot and honk my horn. A detective shows up, female Hispanic detective shows up, climbs in the front seat of my truck, and I'm telling her, everything that happened. Ambulance get called, and I go to the hospital. And one reason I mention that because that female Hispanic detective turns out to be childhood friends with the person I was divorcing and the primary beneficiary of my life insurance. But I didn't know that at the time. And then she is also, I guess, stated in a narrative that she wasn't even there. But all you have to do is interview, everybody else that was there because she was there. I know I was there myself. And so anyways, I'm at the ER, and she's up there, same person. And I'm saying there's proof at my house. There's proof at my house. The proof was an audio recorder, one of these digital recorders for classrooms that I was using to record the burglar alarms going off because I didn't have my Vivint system at the time, and I was talking into it. And so that proved a home invasion, And I said, there's proof at my house, and the nurse at the hospital documents me saying that I'm up there telling the detective there's proof at the hospital, at my home. Well, that proof is now stolen. It's been gone. I've never seen it since. But it's documented. I told him it was here. What I did find when I got back to the house, 8 days later, back of my foot cut off, never worked again, now crippled, my life ruined, and then I find out that I've been called crazy or paranoid schizophrenic, and even though the mental health cleared me, the police has been saying that even though they know that mental health cleared me at the hospital, because people at the hospital are trying to have me committed, and I'm the victim of a violent crime. Anyways, I get back, I find when I crawled out of my home, 19 minutes later, 2 police officers arrive. I have subpoenaed the police reports. There's no record of police being at my home.